and plunges it into the vampire's chest.
My Ghostwriter, the Vampire. Episode 14 of Season 3 of Tales from the Darkside. You know, there's been so many tales involving vampires. Is this going to be an actual original one? Or something we haven't seen before? And the actual answer is yes. This is quite a good vampire tale. And while it has a goofy title that makes you believe that this is going to be a comedy episode, it really isn't. There's one character by the name of Jane that I showed in the intro that does act a bit goofy, and her British accent is quite hilarious. Everyone else acts quite seriously. So Peter Prentice is a writer, and I'm using air quotes. He's trying to be a writer, and he's really stealing his ideas from his assistant Jane. She's giving him good ideas for books and basically writing the stories for him, and then he's writing these novels that really aren't doing very well. Seems like he's making a living, but he wants that big blockbuster book. He's a horror novelist. Who can help him write this big book? Well, a vampire who has 900 years of amazing vampire stories. That's who can help him write this book. So he accidentally gets a vampire roommate when he orders this coffin and has it in this secret layer of his house. Seems like he got it to give him inspiration, help him be a real horror author. And this vampire really likes sleeping in this coffin, and apparently really likes Peter's house because he doesn't want to leave. He's basically forcing Peter to be his roommate, even though Peter owns the place. So he makes a deal with him. If he lets him stay in this coffin in this nice room, he will help him write a best-selling novel with all his amazing vampire advice, stories. And the acting in this episode is quite good. Peter is played by Jeff Conaway, who most people recognize as Bobby Wheeler from TV show Taxi. He was also in Grease and Babylon 5. And he's not a very likable character. He begins to believe that once this vampire helps him write these novels, that really he doesn't need the vampire anymore, and he's better than this vampire. Vampire is played by Roy Botrice, who narrated the audiobooks for Game of Thrones. So I'm sure that netted him a pretty penny. And he does have a great voice and plays this role very seriously. It makes you believe that he is an actual vampire. Not like the other vampires we've seen in this series who are like, oh, I want to suck your blood, oh. He has a cool demeanor, he looks the part, and the costumes here and the makeup effects we see later are quite convincing.
When the sun shines, I require sanctuary.
Then we get the goofy British girl, played by Gilly Mack, who really hasn't acted in too many things, but she is married to Tom Selleck, so once she got married to him in 1987, she knew it was smooth sailing from there. She's living the high life. So Peter gets his book published, 900 Years of Darkness, and what do you know? It's a bestseller. He's rich now. He's making all this money doing his dream job of being a successful horror author. And begins to get a bit of a big head and decides he doesn't need this vampire Count Draco anymore, and actually manages to kill him. Now we're 2/3 through the episode, and the vampire has died, so obviously something else has to happen, and the ending in this is quite good. It all wraps together very well. We see Jane in the beginning, and then we see her at the end when she comes to present Peter with a lawsuit that she's filed against him for stealing all of her ideas. And through some happenstance, Count Draco comes back alive and kills Peter, and is about to kill Jane when she makes him an offer he can't refuse, of him writing books for her. Except for this time, unlike Peter, who would screw him over on the royalties and not give him any credit, she'll split the royalties with him 50. And it seems like he's going to get some co-writing credits too. So I think this is quite a good episode. It's not one people really mention when talking about Tales from the Darkside, but I enjoyed it all the way through. And it was just original enough, with 3 really good actors, with some action scenes where he's fighting this vampire, and not a 100% predictable story, though the ending ties in perfectly from the beginning. And if you were maybe smarter than me, you could have seen where this is going. I'm going to give this one a high 6 out of 10. I think it's worth watching, but won't be making the top 10 list of the entire series. But it's a solid entry, and Season 3 has now had 4 good episodes in a row, 4 that are worth watching. And it seems like, at least for now, don't worry, we're going to take some dips later on, that they're taking this more seriously. They're getting good actors. Even the set we have here looks quite a bit better, with a secret Dracula lair hidden behind this bookshelf. But man, do they love doing stories about writers. I swear to God, half the stories in Tales from the Darkside are about someone who wants to become a writer. People who write these stories are writers, so they write about other writers, like Stephen King. Oh boy. Whew. No more writers. Make an episode about like a construction worker or something. Sponge who lives in a pineapple under the sea. Something like that. So now we're going to read some reviews. Alright, since I gave it a good review, let's read someone who didn't like it. 4 out of 10. Another nonsensical Dracula story. Dracula's name was really dragged through the mud in the 1980s by American producers. How dare they, wasn't it? Here's another silly story that does a massive disservice to the ferocious creature of the Bram Stoker novel. Well, it was written like the 1800s, what do you expect? People are going to use it. People are going to use Dracula because he's in the public domain, just like Winnie the Pooh. Instead presenting him as a lovable, blood-drinking grandfather figure. They could have picked worse actors to play him than Roy Beautreys, right, he ruled, but the way the character is written is still a disappointment. He's not really a lovable vampire. He kills a cleaning lady, he goes out to feed at night, so it's not like he's like a reluctant vampire like that Tales from the Crypt episode. But he's also not terrible either. He gives him a good deal. Hey, I just want to be your roommate. What's the big deal? The tale involves an obnoxious writer, that is true, who finds himself stuck for inspiration, so he strikes a deal with the Count. He'll give the vampire bed and board in return for access to the vampire's 900-year-old stories. Inevitably, things go wrong, with various characters double-crossing one another. I guess he does double-cross the Count, and there's a woman with an annoying Cockney accent thrown into the mix. I think that will annoy some people. I thought she was funny, though. This is one of the few characters in Tales from the Darkside that was genuinely could make some good jokes. It seemed like she had some comedic chops. But if that was cast by another person, like a Joel Selba episode, oh man. I would want a stake, not through the heart, but through my ears. As usual, the spoofery makes this a silly and trivial effort. I guess this person thought it was just a little too goofy, but it really isn't goofy outside of that girl sometimes making jokes. Everything else is played quite seriously. But if you throw even in a little bit of comedy, people think it throws it off. Next up is a really funny episode. Well, it's an episode that tries to be really funny. It's called My Own Place, and oh no, we can see the IMDb rating 5.1. That's not good. About a guy who gets a roommate, just like this episode. And it takes place in New York, of course. Check out our playlist for all episodes of Fear Itself, Monsters, Tales from the Darkside, Black Mirror, Cowboy Bebop, Pet Shop of Horrors. Thanks a lot.